The secret to Starbucks success isn't the sauce. It's the people and how we treated each other. That's the secret.
All right, welcome back to the Witz Podcast. Today, once again, as usual, we have a wicked awesome guest. We have Howard Behar. Howard's career in business spans over 50 years, all in consumer-oriented business, covering several industries. As the founding president of Starbucks International during his tenure, he participated in the growth of the company from 28 stores to over 15,000 stores spanning over 5 continents, and he served on the Starbucks board of directors for the last 12 years before retiring. Mr. Behar is still active with nonprofit commitments such as University of Washington Foundation, UW Business School of Mentoring Program as trustee for the Sherry and Les Biller Family Foundation. Howard is committed to the development and education of our future leaders and has been a longtime advocate of the servant leadership model, which is one of the oldest and one of the best. Howard, welcome to the show. So let's start there, man. I mean, let's start with, what is servant leadership to you? I mean, there are 11 core aspects that go into it, but break it down for us.
Well, there's primarily one thing. You serve your people to help them achieve what they want out of their lives, help to make them better human beings, to help make them better professionals, better family members, and they will serve you. Mm-hmm. But you have to serve them first. And that means that you trust them, but you give them trust before they have to give you trust. You give them love before they give you love. It is putting yourself last in the journey and putting your people first. And that's what it's about.
It's kind of like parenting.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, some parenting, yeah.
Right.
But it's primarily what it's about, and that's how great organizations work. You name the industry, you name the nonprofits, whatever. The military are great servant leaders for the most part.
Yeah. People have the wrong idea about militant leadership. I mean, traditionally, it did come from this place of sort of directness and authoritarian. But if you look at leadership taught in military today, it's a lot around servant leadership.
Yeah, they're always out in front. Read their leadership books, they're always ahead. Right. And, today's world, the business world, there certainly is a movement, a significant movement towards servant leadership or conscious capitalism, which is another form that started by John Mackey and significant other types of organizations that are heading that way. And there's a reason, because the internet has made people more accountable. You can't hide.
Right.
Whatever you say, whatever you do, it's there for posterity. You tweet. I have to remind myself. Sometimes I get mad, particularly at political stuff, and I probably tweet stuff I shouldn't. But it's there for posterity, right? And you can't hide. And look what's happened. I think one of the most interesting thing that's happened because of the internet is look what happened at Uber. Mm-hmm. The guy that founds Uber is a complete, and jerk, and he finally gets taken down because the internet went wild with the people that are working at Uber and telling everybody what was going on, and the board finally had to act.
Right. So what you think there's a theme there, which is absence of servant leadership and pure capitalism, pure narcissism, pure selfishness.
Yeah, and we're held accountable.
Right.
Servant leadership, is about performance. Mm-hmm. As much as it is about anything else. I mean, you have to do what you say you're going to do. That's part of servant leadership. And not just on the leader's part, but on everybody, because everybody's a servant leader. In a servant-led organization, everybody is a servant leader. There's not one servant leader.
Right. Let's go back. How did you come across servant leadership? Were you ever introduced to Robert K. Greenleaf's stuff, or?
50 years ago, I got a little pamphlet. It was called The Leader as Servant, written by Robert Greenleaf. It was his first document that he wrote. And a guy that I reported to gave me that pamphlet, and I was 25 years old, and I'm 76 now. And that started my journey. I related to it right away. I had the bent of it, but I didn't understand what it meant. I couldn't teach it. I was an unconscious competent. No words for it. I just was being Howard, so to speak. And then all of a sudden I get these words for it and more instruction about it and more more views about it. And then I just became a student of it. And that's where I decided I better learn to lead myself first.
Would you say this was a foundation to your professional success, servant leadership?
No question. No question.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was. It was. I grew up with a dad. My dad had a small mom and pop grocery store, and he had. It was a neighborhood grocery store. So in those days, he had charge accounts for all the people, and I watched what he did. They weren't just his customers; they were his neighbors and his friends, and
Right.
he treated them that way. He was my original teacher of servant leadership. Of course, we didn't call it that, but and so that started me off at a very early age.
Well, your dad came from the silent generation, which is also known as the greatest generation or the selfless generation, where you actually, when you lived and you did business in the community, it was about connection, community, neighborhood, support, giving, service, et cetera, et cetera. I used to do a lot of work around generations. And one of the things I tell stories around is like, yeah, back in certain communities, the butcher, the grocer, the mom and pop, there was a community around it, right? I mean, trust was at the core of everything.
Well, trust is everything. Trust is what makes the world work.
Right.
Without trust, it doesn't work. It's what makes families work. At its core, it's right. Trust
Right.
in oneself is what make you work, right? And then it goes to families. If there's no trust in a marriage, there's no marriage.
Right. What do you think it takes to trust corporately? I mean, I think, in the world that we live, everyone is throwing out the word trust as a corporate thing, right? Like, oh, we need to build trust within our culture. And it's like this necessary thing that they need to do. What does it really take to have a trusting culture?
Almost zero gap between what you say and what you do.
Right. Right. The reliability
It's
factor.
all about what you do, right? But and formed by what you say.
Right. That you'll appreciate. There's that old saying, right? It's not what you do. It's not what you say. It's what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think that's been lost. Hey, I'm Greg Witz. Thanks so much for coming and checking out the video. If you like that video, you're going to love the next one. So I'd highly suggest that you click this video over here. And don't forget to subscribe and share.